And I apologize that happened to you, but you did truly happen to be at the wrong place at the wrong time. And it was just pure circumstance that you encountered ATF at all that day.
Welcome back, everybody. Unfortunately, we have a doozy of a story for you today. This actually comes from one of my viewers, involves one of my viewers, and I've spent the last 3 days corroborating what I am about to tell you. Basically, one of my viewers reached out to me following the video I did on Tate, who is also a Navy E6. If you guys haven't watched that video, definitely check it out. It is a active duty sailor who has been wrongfully convicted by the ATF of multiple machine gun charges. Again, check his video out. He needs your support. But essentially, one of my viewers watched that video and was in a very similar, rather is in a very similar situation, and reached out to me, and I talked to him. I looked up the local ATF records. I've looked up the primary charging documents, all of those sorts of things, which there aren't really charging documents, they're seizure documents, and verified what is going on here that I'm about to tell you about. So, quick background, this gentleman, his name is Carlo. He is now currently retired from the United States Navy, did 20 years in the Navy. He came here at age 19 from the Philippines, so he's an immigrant to our nation, enlisted in the Navy, like I said, served 20 years. And this event happened while he was on terminal leave, which means when you're getting out of the military and you're taking your final leave right before retirement. I'm happy to report that he is currently retired from the Navy right now, which is a big deal. And when we talk about legalities and legal situations, so he is 100% retired and out of the Navy. So there is that. He has a zero criminal record. He has nothing he's ever even been charged with, never mind convicted of in the past. This is a law-abiding American citizen. So the story comes about that this gentleman, Carlo, was looking to buy a buffer tube, and essentially in his area there was a shop that kind of sells all types of different parts. So he contacts the owner of the shop on Facebook and says, hey, I want to come down and buy a buffer tube. Cool. When he arrives on the situation, I'm going to be referencing some notes here. When he arrives at the store, the gun owner meets him outside, the store owner meets him outside and says that he's under investigation by the ATF. And Carlo at this point just assumed the guy was being paranoid, right, and being crazy. And he's like, yeah, whatever, I'm just looking for a buffer tube, right? So they go in the store, look at some stuff, and then the owner of the store tells him that he thinks the buffer tube that he's looking for, I don't know if it's like a special configuration, A5, something like that, probably, according to the story in the video that I've seen, that's most likely, goes out to his car, the owner's car, to pick up the buffer tube. At this point, Carlo, the person who is the center of the story, the Navy veteran, opens up the trunk of his Tesla, which is key to the story here. Presumably, he opened it so that way he could buy the buffer tube, put it in his trunk, and go home and go about his business as a law-abiding citizen. Well, as soon as they walk out the door, he opens his trunk. At this point, ATF agents and vehicles from all directions converge on the store. Agents get out with guns, long guns drawn on him, and the store owner telling them to put their hands up, all this, everything you would associate with like a raid type of scenario. That happens at the situation. Basically, the two men are separated. They're questioned. And again, I just want to reference my notes here. They're questioned separately, put in handcuffs, and this goes on for a period of about 2 hours. They ask him, Carlo, the person in this video, again, at the time, active duty Navy E6, they're asking him about why he's supplying the city with solvent traps and machine guns. And they think he's like this kingpin ringleader in this network of illegal machine guns, right? That's what they're interrogating him about. And much to what I don't like, he is actually answering their questions. Again, advice, folks, never talk to law enforcement. But anyway, so the agents continually grill him about this while he is in handcuffs. Again, this is a law-abiding American citizen who went to a store to buy a buffer tube, okay? And this is what happens to him. At this point, again, I mentioned that he had opened his trunk. Well, in his trunk, he had several firearms in the trunk. My guess is he was going to the range. I didn't ask him that, but he probably was. And they were in various states of configuration. Additionally, they were nice firearms with nice accessories. So like Gucci stuff, like nicer than even some of the stuff I have. And they were not inexpensive items. In total, the things he had, which were in plain view that we'll get to here in a second, in his trunk cost more than $20,000. So this is not insignificant. And basically, while the interrogation is going on the side of the road, or side of the storefront rather, the ATF agents see his guns, notice that they're very nice guns, and they start taking selfies with his guns. right? They're like, oh man, this is a sweet knight's armament, and they start taking selfies with it, presumably that they're heroes and got these illegal guns off the streets. Well, anyway, after that happens, after the selfies are taken, agents ask for his consent to search the vehicle. He says no, and they ask why, and they asked him if he was hiding drugs in the vehicle, and his response, which is key to everything I'm about to tell you, is that he didn't want the Tesla video and audio recording to stop if they opened the doors. Now, I have no idea how Teslas work. I don't own one. I don't know if there's a setting where you can have that happen, where you open the doors and recording stops. I don't know, but what he told the agents was, no, I don't want you to search the vehicle because I don't want my recording to stop of everything that's been going on since you've been here. And he stated at that point, and of course the video shows, at that point the agents, their whole demeanor stops because of course they don't like being recorded, and of course they're not wearing body cameras, which why are they not wearing body cameras? That's a video for another day. Their demeanor changes, and at this point the ATF told him that they're going to seize his guns and started filling out seizure paperwork, which is what they give you when they take serialized items. And of note, this will come into play later on in the video. The seizure documents, I probably am rolling them in now, some of them, but they only state the stuff that has serial numbers on it, right? So like a lower, a silencer, like a optic, whatever the case may be. Only if it has a serial number is the only way they're gonna put it on there. So my point is that they seized lots and lots of property that doesn't have a serial number on it. And again, we will get to that here in just a second. And so as they're logging these firearms and silencers into their seizure books, they asked him if the silencers were homemade. Now, at this point, I've probably rolled in photos of some of the stuff that was in his trunk, and you guys can clearly see, anybody who knows anything about guns, these are not homemade silencers. These are some of the Gucciest, mil-spec silencers out there on the planet. So the fact that an ATF agent who's conducting a raid about illegal silencers and machine guns, and they think that these things are homemade, interesting job competency that you have there. So basically, they let him go. They seize his property. Carlo goes to the local ATF agent 2 days later, and he goes there with all of his relevant tax stamps for everything that has been seized, and just all of his paperwork for everything, paperwork that we will get to here in just a second, outside of just the actual tax stamps for his NFA items. And the agent asked him, where's his tax stamp for the SBR that he had? And he states that he didn't have an SBR. What he had was a B&T pistol with a tailhook brace, and separately there was an 11.5-inch upper in the trunk that had never been attached to a lower receiver of any kind. Now, interestingly enough, the ATF agent then says that when the firearms were seized by the ATF, the AR-15 was in a SBR configuration. Now, mind you, this man has video of all of this. He has video of the actual configuration that they were in, and the ATF has no body cams. So that's an interesting point. Anyway, but the agent accused him at this point, as he goes in to get his stuff, of having an SBR illegally and not having the proper paperwork for it, after he just presented a litany of paperwork for all of the items that he has legally. He went through all the background checks, all the extra tax stamps, all the fingerprints, all the extra photos, all of that stuff, the year plus wait to own these items legally. And this agent, accuses him of having an illegal SBR, and after he documents that everything in there, all the NFA items, were legally owned. Interesting. So anyway, basically continuing on, he goes in a following day and records the video that I'm probably going to show you here in just a second, where the ATF says that he's completely innocent of everything. And mind you, he was going in there to speak to the supervisor. This is just a local field agent that's explaining the situation to him, and I'll let you guys check that out.
I'm sure it was scary to be standing there having a conversation with somebody in the parking lot and a bunch of armed federal agents come running in. I have no doubt that was traumatic. And I apologize that happened to you, but you did truly happen to be at the wrong place at the wrong time. And it was just pure circumstance that you encountered ATF at all that day.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Do they have like body cams and all that stuff, all of them?
I don't believe so.
Oh my God.
ATF here does not have body cams yet. Now, if there was another agency on the scene, they might have. Like, for example, we work a lot with MPD or with the gang unit. We weren't there for you, from my understanding. We don't even know who you are. I think it just happened to be an unlucky situation where in the 30 seconds that our guys were rolling up, you happen to be meeting. This has nothing to do with him whatsoever. You will never be added to his case. You're not going to be lumped into some category that he's in. It has nothing to do with him whatsoever. He just happened to be standing, I guess, this far away whenever we showed up to arrest him for an arrest warrant. Okay? That's the extent of that. You're not all of a sudden a defendant in whatever he's doing or anything like that. As at this time, you're not charged with anything.
Right.
Okay? Like I said, she's not here, or she would be standing here to answer your questions because we're stand-up people. I want you to have all the information I have. Like, there's no tricks. There's nothing on my sleeve. Okay? I'm just trying to be honest with you. I will encourage Stacy to try to stay in the loop with you so you don't have this anxiety like of the fear of the unknown kind of thing, like what's happening behind the curtain.
Nobody even gave us the information on how to get here. Like, we had to find that out through people he knew.
Okay.
I called her the first time she picked up. It was the same day.
Mm-hmm.
She asked who I was so she could share my number, but after that she never picked up. I emailed, multiple times. I sent the paperwork through an email. That's why I'm here today.
Now, in the video y'all just saw, he's just talking to the local ATF agents that were on scene at the office. He went in there, rather, to speak to the supervisor who's in charge of all of this, who can authorize or at least he believes, who can authorize the release of all of his items. And that agent wasn't there because they were off doing drill duty in the Reserve or National Guard in a military capacity. So, again, this man's a veteran. He understands that. So he calls back in 2 weeks, wanting to get an update on his items, and the ATF agent, senior agent, states, quote, "Stop blowing up my phone. You don't even have any charges, but that could change if you keep this up." Mind you, he has all of this on video and audio. Carlo then stated that he needs his guns back for home defense, and I should mention, this is a key point here, during this time, this month-long period, unfortunately, this man's sister was murdered in a home invasion that was across the country that he went to her funeral, just came back during that 2-week period. So that's crucial to the point here. I probably didn't tell that story correctly. But point being is that his sister was murdered during this period, and he went and obviously, as a family member would do, grieved, and then came back home asking for his stuff back. And then he stated that he wants his guns back for home defense. And again, that senior agent at the ATF stated, quote, "Don't even start with that. We know you have several others." So if you don't believe that there is a firearms registry, there you go. That's all you need to know. There absolutely is a firearms registry, and she's referencing it as a reason to not give this man back his lawfully owned items. Then he goes on to say, following this conversation, that he did some research into this agent's background, and the previous agents who were, not the senior ones that he was talking to, said that she was new, and it turns out that she was transferred to their local office because she's facing drunk driving charges while serving in a law enforcement capacity. Now, best I know, she hasn't been convicted, so I'm just throwing that out there. But basically, this man here, who is an immigrant to the country, is a United States Navy veteran who served honorably, who has zero criminal record, was robbed at gunpoint by ATF agents. His property was stolen. The property is valued at over $20,000. At this point in the video, I'm guessing I rolled in photos of a lot of it, but not all of it, that you guys can see here. Very high-end items. And he very likely, without this video, me here, that's one of the reasons I'm making it, he will likely never get his gear back if it's not for publicity brought to this case. Now, for those of you guys that don't know, the ATF has a central facility in West Virginia where they take all of these items and they destroy them. That's what they do. But of course, some of those items get out because the ATF and their employees like to sell these firearms illegally. It's a very common thing. It seems to happen like every other year that an ATF agent is arrested and tried for selling the items that are supposed to be destroyed illegally on the black market. It's kind of what they do. I'm not making that up. You guys can do your own research. It happens all the time. But point being is that people who have their items seized illegally virtually never get them back. Like, that just doesn't happen. However, it's normally like a Smith & Wesson M&P Sport or something like that that costs $500 to $600. This man had over $20,000 of firearms and equipment and NFA items, mind you, legally owned NFA items, stolen from him by ATF agents holding him at gunpoint while they did so. This is insane. Like, he reached out to his congressional reps locally and basically only heard back at the state level, which of course the ATF operates at the federal level. But hopefully this video reaches some folks. Hopefully all of you guys share this everywhere, because this case needs to be blown up and the ATF needs to be held accountable for what they're doing. Again, this man's case is not unique. It just so happens that he's a viewer of mine, was able to get in contact with me and provide me some of the documents for this. And again, he has everything on video. He has all of the audio for every encounter that I discussed here today. I've listened to some of it. Some of it he probably doesn't want released, which he said because he doesn't want the ATF to try to plot against him in court for a potential SBR case. And on that note, What he was saying is, ever since then, he's been living with crippling anxiety. He's unable to sleep. Every morning he wakes up and he checks the county warrant website to see if the ATF is going to raid his house today and charge him with illegal possession of an SBR. As you can imagine, as somebody who is a law-abiding citizen, particularly an immigrant, and you just have to be real with that, right? It makes a difference. This man is in fear for his status as a law-abiding citizen in America every single day. And the ATF agent who said, that could change if you keep this up, regards to him not having any charges, those things can play on someone, play in their mind, right? And it's not how law-abiding American citizens, particularly honorably serving veterans, should be treated in this country. So I suppose with that, I will leave a link down below to his video discussing this, which discusses some of the things I went into, but not all of them. And then obviously in the link of that video description, there is a fundraiser for him at his his lawyer fees, where he's trying to get his items back and get, I can't say his charges dropped because he doesn't have any charges, but defend himself against possible charges, which the ATF is holding over him at this point. Again, guys, share this video far and wide. Fortunately, I say that intentionally. Fortunately, over the last year, some of the videos like this that we've discussed where the ATF is doing criminal activity have been covered by larger news outlets. Tucker Carlson's covered one. Glenn Beck's covered one of the videos I talked about here. So you guys sharing that is what gets these things on the radar of the bigger networks to reach an even larger audience. And really, that's the only reason I'm making these videos, guys. These things need to be known. People don't understand what's happening in this country. And again, this man stated to me he had no idea this could happen in America. It shouldn't happen in America. It shouldn't be able to happen in America. Absolutely not. And he's living in shock because of it. And I don't want other Americans to have to go through this. So I think we'll end the video there, guys. If you like the video, definitely subscribe. Unfortunately, these things happen all the time, and we do cover them. If you have subscribed, just double check that, because people get unsubscribed all the time. Additionally, hit the notification bell if you've done both of those and you're not seeing 2 to 4 videos a week here on the channel. You can sign up for my email at the website here on the screen. This email goes out once a month, has all the videos since the previous month's email went out. So that way you guys don't miss any of my content due to algorithmic censorship. And additionally, if you guys follow me on social media, you know that I share a lot of deals on good stuff. This guy bought some of the items that you see here from my sales that I've shared on social media and in my daily deals email. So you can sign up for that daily deals email here at the website on your screen. Email goes out every day, as the name implies, and it has 6 or 7 of the best deals that we find around the internet. So that way, if it's in the email, it's the cheapest I know of anywhere on the internet. So that way you guys can save yourself some time and hopefully save yourself some money, because I've already done the looking for you. And with that, we'll end the video, guys. Again, I will emphasize, share this video. This needs to be exposed. This is corruption. This is thug activity being undertaken by armed men from the government with badges under the cover of law enforcement. It's crazy. Thanks for watching, guys. We'll see you in the next video.